And good morning at 7:04 on this Thursday, May 2nd. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. Here we are on a terrific Thursday morning, a tremendous Thursday. That's what it is, and we are glad to have you with us. And, of course, sun is shining. It's the second day of May, and welcome to Coleman and Company. Ronnie Kelly is here this morning for Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road, the dealer to trade for anything it don't eat. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it's nice to see you, and you're going to be doing the commercial this morning without Paul Tubbs. Paul is the general manager, and where is he this morning?
Paul had a little thing he had to do this morning, so he said he wouldn't be here.
We'll just say he's on special assignment.
Special assignment.
That covers a lot of territory. All right. Well, Ronnie's been in sales for 37 years at this low. Well, I can't even say that anymore. You started at Burchett Ford, and then it became Bates Ford, and you hung along for 37 years and made a lot of friends and sell a lot of cars and vehicles and whatever's there, and trade for anything you don't eat, right?
Yes, sir. We'll trade for anything that don't eat. And right now, we do have a lot of great specials right now on new cars, and we have some great interest rate on new cars. And also, Mr. Bates bought several cars on yesterday, and we got a great selection of inventory, used cars. We got a selection of about anything you want. And if you go online, if you don't see something online that you think that if we don't have it, if you come by and one of our salespeople, we probably got it sitting around on the lot.
You've been able, I think the new location and the time, both have had to do with this. There was a time 2 or 3 years ago where cars were scarce. They weren't getting as many from the manufacturer. I don't know, maybe business might have been a little bit slower. You might not have had as many coming in. But now you pass by, even on the interstate, and look over at 1780 Franklin Road and see Bates Ford. There's cars all over the place.
Yes, sir. We got cars all over the place. And one great thing about it, we got a lot of new vehicles. And the new vehicles, we got a selection. You know, you may look at one vehicle, let's say a Ford Edge. We may have 12 or 13 of them. Used to, we may have one or zero. Mm-hmm. So that's one great thing, and we do have a lot of trucks. F-150 is a great selling truck and number one selling truck, and we have also 250s and 350s. At one time, we did not have those. So right now, a lot of people are driving by, and I've had people to come in and say, hey, I live up north, and y'all got more trucks on y'all lot than we have. And so that was a plus, and a lot of people are telling us that. So we're doing a great job of inventory.
Now, you have expressed your love for the 150. The 250 and 350, I take it they're just bigger trucks, is that?
Bigger truck, work trucks, and a lot of times people buy those trucks, they're diesel trucks. And that's a lot of times construction workers will buy those type of trucks. We got a lot of young people that drive those trucks and jack them up and do what they need to do with them. So.
Yeah. Well, regardless, you're really ready to sell whichever they want. But the 150 is a pretty versatile piece of equipment, isn't it?
Yes, 150 is a great truck, and we got a great selection of those. And one time they come out with the electric truck, and we are selling a few of those.
Yeah.
You know? But, they're pretty expensive.
Well, I'm not going to ask you how long before they take over, but I have my doubts they ever will, but we don't know.
I think the governor is pushing that. The government is pushing it, and I think it'll continue to come one day.
All right. Well, I guess we ought to mention this morning the oil change, because that's something I think you could really become known for, and especially now at your new location where you can do so many more quicker.
Right. We got 40 bays, and the oil change right now is $39.95 up to 5 quarts, and that's a great deal. You can't beat that deal anywhere, and we do a lot of oil changes each day. And also, we have the plan called the Works. Mm-hmm. The Works is $59.95, a special, and that checks your belt, your hoses, and it'll give you up to 6 quarts of oil, and that's a great deal. The Works, that's a program that Paul had put on special, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but that's a great deal. Also, we have a service of pickup and delivery. Mm-hmm. If you at work, and you want to get your oil changed, you give us a call, and we'll come by and pick up your vehicle and bring it back when we're finished. And some of those we do have a mobile service. In other words, if you got a sensor or some things that need to be done, we'll send a tech out to take care of that.
Yeah. Well, your job primarily is selling, and I know that when somebody comes in to get one of these specials, and especially the oil change or some of the other work that you do, you look over the car and maybe you find some things that are not right with it. Well, you love it when somebody finds enough bad that they're ready to trade cars instead of fixing up the old one.
Yes, and there's a lot of times when we have people in service, they'll come in and we'll sit down and talk with them, and they come in to get an oil change, and we wind up, making a deal because of the great interest rates. We got something they really, really like, and that's a plus.
Well, we could mention tires and batteries quickly too. You have a great price on batteries
right.
for most cars,
mm-hmm.
and on most of them, I think that price includes installing.
Yes, it includes installing. It does include installing.
And then the tires, some great tires on great prices on tires as well. So
right, we'll beat anybody's prices on tires if you come in and look at our tires. We got a great selection of those, and we do a great job. We sell a lot of tires each and every day.
And you are still the dealer to trade for anything you don't eat.
Yes, sir.
All right. Ronnie, thanks for being with us this morning. Ronnie Kelly, in sales for 37 years. Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road, the dealer to trade for anything you don't eat. We're 10 after the hour, and here on this Thursday morning, I want to welcome Ken Beck. Ken Beck is somebody that we've had on from time to time here on Coleman and Company. I always look forward to his visit. Ken is a writer and author, I guess you would say. He does news stories. He writes for the Wilson Post and it's Main Street Media, I believe it's right. Ken, good morning.
Yeah, good to be with you.
Well, it's really nice to have you, and for those who are wondering, yes, you have another book. You have written another book.
Well, I have, and this is, I really call myself a storyteller. And this is the first fiction book I've ever written, and it was very difficult. It's a lot easier to interview people and let them tell me their stories. It's much easier to tell other people's stories sometimes. But this is something I started almost 20 years ago, and I wrote 3 chapters, and I thought it was the worst writing I've ever written. I thought, this stinks. So I put it down. But 2 years ago, I picked it back up, and I said, I'm going to finish this. I don't care. I just want to finish it. Its title is For the Love of Stan Musial, and the subtitle is 4 Boys Take a Road Trip in Search of the St. Louis Cardinals' Stan the Man. And in my childhood, of the early 60s, from the years of like 10 to 14 in the summer, and I grew up in the suburbs, there was a lot of us boys that just played baseball. 24 hours a day, it seems like. We'd get up in the morning and get on our bikes and go to somebody's backyard, and we'd play till noon and eat lunch, and then we'd go to baseball practice in the afternoon, and we might have a game that night.
Baseball was your life, wasn't it?
Well, it was, and I think there were millions of other kids too like that. And if I'd have written this book 40 years ago, I think it would have been a book that young teenagers and older elementary kids would have liked, but I don't know. Our childhoods have changed a lot. I think now, unfortunately, this is probably a book for old men who played baseball 50 years ago. But anyway, it's a fiction story. It's set in a small town in Arkansas of 1963, probably a town similar to Lebanon. And there's 4 boys that are bonded because they just love baseball. 3 of them play on a little league team, but they have their own little neighborhood team. 3 of the boys are white, and 1 of the boys is black, and he's also deaf. And so they have a tree house, they have their clubhouse, and they decide in April, they're all in the 6th grade. In April that year, they're up in their tree house, and they decide they want to do something before they go into junior high that's going to be really special. So they talk their parents into letting them take a Trailways bus to St. Louis on their own, and they're really hoping they can meet Stan Musial, who was the great St. Louis Cardinals superstar for 22 years. And so the parents let them do that. They're going to let them do it, but they have to earn their own money and everything. And so it's there's a lot of it that takes place in the small town itself.
Uh-huh.
And but there's 4 chapters where they go to St. Louis. And so this, although I'm writing fiction, I still have to be accurate. And I'd never been to the St. Louis ballpark back then. It was called Sportsman's Park. It was also the first Busch Stadium. And they've now got their 3rd Busch Stadium. But I had to do a lot of research. I had to do a lot of research on the life of Stan Musial. But what was it like? If they're at that ballpark, I've got to describe it. And so I I've got a lot of baseball books and that have about some of the major league stadiums, but I wanted to know, well, what do they sell at the concession stands? What kind of souvenirs do they sell? Can you walk all the way around the ballpark like you can a lot of major league ballparks today? So I connected with the St. Louis Cardinals organization, and they put me in with connected me with several people who are in their 70s now, but who went there in the 50s and 60s, and some of them just gave me one or two of them gave me some great information. I mean, just really great details that you want to use if you're a writer and you're describing something. You want to take people there and make them feel like they can see it when they're reading. And so I had a lot of great help there. And anyway, like I say, it was. I don't want to say it was a labor of love. It was a job of love. But anyway, the.
Hold your thought right there. We got to go to a break. But now this is for sale, right?
Yes, it's for sale in Lebanon at 316 Boutique on 108 East Main Street. It's also for sale at Amazon Books.
All right. Yeah. Well, if you're a baseball lover and you're over 50 years old, you're probably going to really want this book. And maybe you will anyway. Ken Beck is here. We got a lot more to talk about here on Coleman & Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Absolute Kubota. They have a deal designed to keep you ahead of schedule. Check out the world's #1 selling compact excavator plus 0% financing going on now until the end of the year. Absolute Kubota 1506 West Main. Our traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Still a little bit crowded over here on 65 southbound at Trinity Lane as it builds even more through Hermitage. Here we go. 40 westbound at Central Pike. You got all that heavy traffic coming in behind it there out of Wilson County, especially coming through the Mount Juliet area. It's loading up pretty good with volume. Right on schedule, actually, on 24 westbound around the Hickory Hollow area coming in from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County towards Nashville. Prince's Hot Chicken now has new items on a brand new menu. Check it out today. You can order online, princeshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Are you thinking about buying a new home? Let A.G. & Johnson assist you with your new home search. From the first-time home buyer to the empty nester, we are experienced in all facets of the home buying process. We will be with you every step of the way. No matter if you are buying, selling, downsizing, or upsizing, we can assist you with your real estate needs. Call us at 615-444-0909 or find us online at agandjohnson.com or Facebook A.G. & Johnson Realty. A.G. & Johnson is your community's trusted realty and auction company.
Continue here on this Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us. Ken Beck is my guest, and let me sort of reintroduce Ken. And in one way, I don't think you need any introduction, but you came here to Friendship and was their first football coach. I don't ever let you forget that. And that was an experiment in itself. But you were with the Nashville Tennessean for years, and you did their Sunday showcase. Mm-hmm. You had contacts with people all over the world, I guess, and especially this country. And I mean, the Tennessean is certainly a prestigious newspaper, and you representing them, you could get into doors that somebody else couldn't at all. And I know you've had. You had a lot to do with Andy Griffith and Mayberry and all of that, and written about it. But if you joined us late, he's written a book here. And you started this, would you say, 40 years ago, 20 years ago?
About 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
And wrote 2 or 3 chapters and quit and then picked it back up. When did you start the second ride to finish it?
Let me see, this is 24. I started in June of 22.
Okay,
started all over again.
All right, two years ago.
Yeah.
And it's called For the Love of Stan Musial. Now, if you don't know a little bit about baseball, Stan Musial might not mean much to you, but he was a tremendous player, and he played his whole career, I think, with the St. Louis Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Played either first base or outfield, mostly right field, if my memory is right.
Right field and left field and some first base.
All right. But he was not only was he a great baseball player, but he was a tremendous human being as well.
Yeah.
And any boy growing up who had been a St. Louis Cardinals fan would have had to have been a Stan Musial fan, I think.
Yeah, and so, again, I had to do a lot of research on his life. I read his autobiography and several biographies. And he actually was drafted by the Cardinals as a pitcher. at the age of 16, and he got killed in the minor leagues. But one of his coaches noticed this guy can hit. So eventually, they realized, hey, this guy's a hitter. And Stan Musial, the St. Louis ballpark that's no longer existing, Busch Stadium, the right field, to hit a home run in right field, they had a net, basically a metal net, going all the way up to the top of the roof. So you had to hit a home run over the roof if you hit it in right field.
Uh-huh.
And Stan Musial was a left-handed hitter, so he hit most of his balls to right field. So in 1955, the Cardinals decided to take down the screen and see if it helped them more. So, it would be shorter range for home runs than their other opposing teams. And they found out that they hit more home runs when the screen was down. But for whatever reason, they put it back up. Well, about 10 or 12 years ago, these baseball saberstitians who studied statistics like you wouldn't believe, they figured out if they had left that screen down, Stan Musial hit 475 home runs, 474. If they'd have taken that screen down, he would have hit 675 home runs, which would make him number 6 on the all-time list. But he was a great promoter of the game. And for example, in his car, he got a new Cadillac every year. And in the trunk of his car, he always had at least 100 baseballs because if people came up, and said, we want to autograph baseball. And so if you went to a game, sometimes after the game, he would get in his car, and then people know that where the player's parking lot is, he would tell all the kids, dozens and dozens of kids want his autograph. He'd say, I'm going to sit down in my car, I'm tired, but I'll roll down my window, and y'all just get in line, and I'll sign all your autographs. And he was, just a super promoter of the game of baseball.
Yeah. Well, again, the book is called For the Love of Stan Musial. We have a listener who wants us to repeat where we can get it. So here's one sale maybe for you today.
It's at 316. That's a Christian boutique store at 108 East Main Street in Lebanon.
Mm-hmm. What are they selling for?
It's $19.95.
$19.95.
Yeah. Anyway, so again, part of the plot is, are they going to meet Stan Musial? And the game I describe is totally accurate, factually true, everything that happens in the game. And he hits a home run in the game in the 5th inning, I think. Well, they're sitting out in left field, near the left field where he is playing, and they think, as soon as this game's over, we're going to get his autograph. Well, the Cardinals took him out after the 7th inning. So they're going, are we going to get to meet him? And they don't get to meet him at the baseball stadium. Well, I found out that he owned a steakhouse in St. Louis. And many times after a game, he would go to the steakhouse and greet the people and sign autographs. So the boys find out about this. So they take their bus from the ballpark to the stadium, and yes, they're going to get to meet Stan Musial.
So you're not giving away too much to let everybody know there's how much of this could be real? Some of this describes your youth, without a doubt.
There are several incidents in here that actually happened to me, but 80% of it is fiction that I've just made up to tell the story. But again, I think if you were a boy who played baseball in the 50s and 60s, Little League, I've had a number of people that read it said, Ken, you just took me back to my childhood. You put me back in what it was like to be a 12-year-old boy. And to me, that's a great compliment.
Well, it really is. But as an author, you were saying how difficult this was in the beginning to get going, but you determined to finish it 20 years later, however long, which I think is remarkable, maybe in two ways. And you saw how different it was in your normal writing, but then you started something, hey, I'm going to finish it. So accolades to you for that.
and the hardest part's writing, to me, writing believable dialogue. I'm not creating, when I'm writing and doing an interview with somebody, they give me the dialogue, the quotes. Yeah. But to make it real, to me, that was a real challenge.
Well, by the way, we did say $19.95 is the price for this, and that's certainly a reasonable for any book just about you buy anymore. You're going to pay that or more for it. So,
and it's also on Amazon Books.
Okay, Amazon Books, and this would be a good Father's Day gift.
It would be. I didn't think of that.
It would be a wonderful one for a lot of people. If your father is a baseball fan at all, probably going to enjoy this book.
I hope so.
Yeah. You were talking about talking with the people with the Cardinals. How did you have much trouble getting information, getting somebody to talk to you to help you get through this?
Not really. Of course, you can find email addresses to almost anybody. So I had an email to one of the vice presidents of the Cardinal organization, and just told him I'd been at the Tennessean many years. I'm legitimate, not just a crank or something. And so he gave me the names of several people. One of them was one of the beat writers who covers the St. Louis Cardinals, who helped me a lot. And then another was a college professor who'd grown up in Illinois, I guess, which isn't that far from St. Louis.
Right.
And he went to like 20 games as a boy and met Stan Musial. He's 2 years older than me. But, I mean, so when I wrote this chapter about describing the ballpark, he told me all the details. Like, no, you couldn't get in center field because they didn't have center field bleachers, and they took them out and they had grass and trees and bushes. And again, I don't have a clue on how to describe this place.
Yeah.
And so if you wanted to sit in right field, you had to go in the right field area. You couldn't get behind home plate, that kind of stuff. And again, some of the different kind of foods they serve there that wouldn't be served at every ballpark, because the kids are going to eat at the ballpark. When they leave, they're going to buy souvenirs. So I found a thing of all the souvenirs on eBay that was for sale from like 1963, showing what all you could buy at the gift stand. So I worked that in there too, because the boys are going to want to get some souvenirs.
Well, no doubt you did your homework. You did a lot of work. You persevered and have come through with the book here. And I hope you sell a lot of these. And again, I think it'd be a wonderful Father's Day gift, and Mother's Day is a week from Sunday, so you got over a month. You got about 6-7 weeks here to come up with this, which that might not be all you want to give, but it'd be a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
What else is going on in your life?
Well, still writing news, our feature stories for the Wilson Post, who's now, they're owned by Main Street Media, which now has about 15 newspapers across Middle Tennessee, and sometimes my stories, if they're good enough, they use them in the other papers. I do a few travel stories. I just went about a month ago to Horse Cave, Kentucky, where they have a cave museum and a cave tour that's very interesting. So that'll be coming up, a little travel story in about 3 weeks probably. It's about an hour and a half from Lebanon. Yeah. But it's really eye-opening, and it's
I don't think you've ever written a story that wasn't good. I just every once in a great while, there may be something I'm not too interested in and just read the headline in the first paragraph maybe, but nearly every time if it says Ken Beck, I read the whole story.
Well, thank you.
Well, I think you are a tremendous asset for the newspaper, and you have a way of writing about you, and no doubt it comes out maybe a little bit differently, but in this book that you've written here too, I'm anxious to get to read it. And we'll remind everybody again, it's called For the Love of Stan Musial. Stan Musial being the great baseball player for the Cardinals back in the 50s and 60s. And then did you describe if you ever see him bat and the way...
Oh, yeah. It was a corkscrew stance. The way twisted around.
Corkscrew stance.
That's what all the people said. He had a corkscrew stance, but it worked.
But to see him unwind and all he was a little bit unorthodox in his stance and the way he approached the ball and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how much longer are you going to do this? You are basically, in a way, you're not, I guess, semi-retired. Would that describe you, maybe?
Yeah, I guess.
Semi-retired.
I've got grandkids, and my children didn't get married till they were 36. Looks like I'm too old to be a grandpa. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play catch with my grandkids. They're still young, but yeah, my wife and I are really enjoying having grandkids. It's incredible. There's nothing like it.
Are you doing any traveling?
So in August will be our 50th wedding anniversary. My wife has done several cruises, and typically I'd let her go with my daughter and her sister, and I would go back to visit my family in Arkansas, but she's talked me into taking a cruise. She's Canadian, so we're going to take a cruise up along the Atlantic coast into Canada for our wedding anniversary.
Well, that ought to be great. A friend of mine, after going on his first cruise, told me the definition of a cruise was forced relaxation.
Well, the big perk to me was the food is supposed to be great.
Yeah, right. Well, there's usually all kinds. I think I've only been on one, but I would say forced relaxation is a good definition. And yes, the food. There's usually good food. There's all kinds. So this ought to be something to really look forward to. All right, we're the last 30 seconds here for the Love of Stan Musial. It's available where on East Main Street?
It's 316. It's a boutique there on 108 East Main.
All right, $19.95, and you can also get it Amazon?
At Amazon under the books section.
All right. Well, Ken Beck, thanks so much for being with us today. I've enjoyed it a lot. Appreciate it. That's part one of Coleman and Company. We've got more, and we hope you'll keep it right here, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Bates Ford. Regular oil change $39.95 up to 5 quarts oil. Tax and disposal $17.80 Franklin Road. Now with traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. The fire department still out with this accident over here, tying up traffic on Nolansville Pike at Glenrose Avenue. It's pretty crowded now on I-40 coming westbound, especially through the Hermitage area coming in from Wilson County through Mount Juliet. Be careful. Crowded also on Vietnam Vets westbound at Henderson, coming out of Hendersonville, working your way towards Conference Drive as it continues to get busier there on 840 right at I-65 there in the Williamson County area. Prince's Hot Chicken now has new items on a new menu. You gotta check them out at princeshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing has experienced new leadership and a new atmosphere. Same location in the heart of Lebanon, 731 Castle Heights Court on the Castle Heights campus. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing is providing 5-star clinical outcomes to short-term and long-term care residents. Call 615-444-4319 for a tour and to experience the new culture. Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing.
Hey, this is Paul with Bates Ford. Have I got some exciting news for you? Bates Ford's moved into our new location at 1780 Franklin Road. That's right, Bates Ford's at 1780 Franklin Road, just off Hartman Drive and Interstate 40. We've got a much larger selection of vehicles to choose from, a state-of-the-art double-sized service department. So come see us at 1780 Franklin Road. That's Bates Ford, 615-444-8221. Bates Ford, the dealer will trade for anything that don't eat.
Sunny skies through the day today, warming up to a high of around 88. As we head into the overnight, mostly cloudy, a slight chance of showers early Friday, that low down to 64. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. Let's look at your forecast. I'm Stormy Clausen.
Welcome to part two of Coleman and Company. It is a Thursday morning, a tremendous Thursday here in the Cedar City, and we welcome you to part two. And we start out part two on Thursdays talking about A.G. & Johnson Realty and Auction, located at 728 West Main here in Lebanon. www.agandjohnson.com, and that telephone number is 615-444-0909. Well, we've got Jim A.G. with us today, along with Helene Cash. And Helene, help me do the telephone number. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Coleman.
We're glad to see you. And Jim A.G., good to have you again. Good morning.
Good to be here, Coleman.
If you don't mind, let me turn this down. Pull that mic a little closer to you. All right, now I'll turn you back up, and we'll hear you a little bit better. But,
okay.
Jim A.G., you and Jerry Johnson started A.G. & Johnson Realty and Auction back in 1977, right?
That's correct.
Yep. Well, you got an auction to talk about this morning.
Small one. It's a small auction.
All right. Take it away.
Okay. This Saturday at 10 o'clock, we'll be selling 411 acres right in the very edge of Smith County, right across the Wilson County line. Be selling it in 28 tracts. They'll range in size from 1 to 81 acres. We have something for everyone up there.
81 acres, pretty good sized farm.
It is.
Yeah.
give you a little overview on what we're selling up there. We have about a dozen building lots. It's ideal for builders or people that just want to build a home. All these lots have utility water. They've been soils tested, septic approved. Just beautiful lots up there, but we have about a dozen of those that's less than 5 acres. Then we go across the road and we've got a 100+ acre bottom land up over there, creek bottom land. It's on the Round Lick Creek, just about where the mouth of it hits the Cumberland River. I mean, to get to this property, you go Highway 70, cross the bridge, and as soon as you cross the bridge, turn right on Whitefield Lane. But and then we go on to the bigger tracks. Some of them front over on Jenkins Road as well as Whitefield. We've got 15-acre tracts or so, 20-something acre tracts, and then they go all the way up to 81-acre tracts, and they're nice hunting recreational tracts over there.
Well, some of this is good farmland, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, this bottom down there is probably some of the best that we've ever sold.
Yeah.
You just don't find 100+ acres in one field very many places, in this area.
Creek bottom.
Bottom.
In some years when there's some flooding goes on, the land is enriched by having a flood.
Around the creek it is, yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, all of this is this Saturday at 10 o'clock. Anything else you want to say about that?
Well,
it's just the land you're selling?
Just the land. It doesn't have any houses, barns, or anything on it. It's just land.
And no personal property or anything?
No personal property,
just,
no.
All these tracts of land that's going, and there's going to be a lot of new landowners here come Saturday.
That's right, but it's a unique piece of property up there. Not many times we get the opportunity to sell 400 acres at one time. Not many of those farms left around.
Right.
I was going to say just 411 acres.
At the Smith-Wilson County line. Is all of this in Smith County?
It's all in Smith County.
Okay.
It's just right across the line.
Right. Okay.
Right there at the Rome Bridge.
Okay.
And I might mention next week we have 2 sales. On Thursday afternoon, May the 9th, we're selling a nice 4-bedroom ranch house over on 10th Road Drive. And then Saturday we're selling 2 houses, 717 and 719 North Greenwood Extension here in Lebanon. Good pieces of investment property that need a little love, but a lot of people are looking for that.
Okay. All right. You want to close it out this morning?
I was just going to say we have lots of auctions coming up this Saturday on Whitefield Lane. Huge opportunity for someone or many people with that 411 acres. But you can check out our website at agandjohnson.com and see what's coming up. Or you can give us a call at 615-444-0909, and we'll be happy to tell you exactly what's going on. Or if you're looking to buy or sell or find some investment property, you can give us a call. We have an agent for you.
All right. Well, that's great to know. A.G. & Johnson Realty and Auction, 728 West Main. Thank you all for being with us. We'll do it again next Thursday.
Thank you, Coleman.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. That's Jim A.G., Helene Cash, A.G. & Johnson Realty, and we are 22 minutes before the hour. Tim Leeper joins us now, and Tim comes once a month, and we talk about Tim Leeper Roofing and Mama's Metal Roofing and a few other things, whatever's on his mind, I guess. Good morning to you.
Morning.
And it's always good to see you, Tim. Hope things are going well.
Yes, sir. Everything is going pretty good. As good as it can be, I guess, right now.
Well, we talked we talked a little different the last time you were here. Is everything going along with the plan that you told us about? You got your associate that's going to be doing the metal roofing.
Yeah, so we're basically onboarding a new young man, and he is going to come into the business. He's going to learn the trade over the next several years, And, when he's ready here in a couple of years, we're going to, transition the business over to him, and there will be a new owner. There won't be any money to exchange hands, because I want him to be able to have a good start in the roofing industry. And, I'll teach him what I can teach him. And he's a pretty good student. He's showing up early and staying as long as he needs to. And those are things you need to see out of somebody you're trying to teach a trade and give a business to.
Well, this way, Mama's Metal Roofing is going to continue, and if all goes as planned, different owners, you just said. As far as Tim Leeper Roofing, you're still going to be doing what you've been doing, and you've been very successful in this, and continue to be. And the thing about roofing is, roofs don't last forever. They're not supposed to. and so there's always going to be a need for somebody to do a roof, whether it's shingle or metal or whatever. You got, as that old saying is, you got to have a roof over your head.
That's right. And, when I was looking into things to do as a younger man, school was not for me. I tried. I just was a poor student, and I don't want to discourage anybody from college. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't my thing. And I wasn't a good test taker. I wasn't a good student. I tried, but it just I didn't have that natural inclination, for learning things in books. But when you put me in a setting where I can learn things on a job site, it's different. And so I figured out that people will always need roofs. It's a good, honest living. I could sleep good at night knowing that, I was taking care of people and doing things that needed to be done, naturally.
Yeah, and you are still doing that. And you have by starting your company, doing what you're doing, you employ a number of people. It's their livelihood, so they're kind of dependent on you to get the roofing jobs to keep them going, I guess.
Well, it kind of works both ways. We're all dependent on each other, and so it's they say, well, we need you to keep going, keep the company open, and do well. But really, it's just as much and more that I need them to do well, because when they're doing well, everybody does well, and it makes it easy to keep the company open.
Right, and then somebody's got to be in charge. Somebody's got to own it and pay the bills and pay the people. It's their livelihood, as we said. They do the work. It's in a way a mutual admiration society in a way of looking at it. But how wonderful that we have people who do what you do. We have plumbers. We have electricians. We have people that take care of things when something tears up or when you need help. And everybody's not a good repair person.
No, they're not. And I'll tell you this: you don't want to see me, right? Well, you don't want to see me try to put together a bookshelf that come from IKEA. That's just not what I do. I could figure it out, but I'd be frustrated, and you would be too if you were around me. But this is something that we can do, and I like seeing these younger people come into the trades, because for so long, they just weren't. They were, we were told that, if you went into a construction trade, you were less than, some of these kids that were going to college. And that's not true. That's not true at all, because, we need these folks to make the world go round. It's construction trades, just like we need lawyers and doctors.
Well, it doesn't mean that you're uneducated. You're educated maybe in a little bit different way. You may not know calculus or sine and cosine and tangent and cotangent and all of that. I think that's from geometry. But anyway, there's something for everybody. Really, you need to find your niche.
That's it. And I think that we're seeing, I'm not going to call it a resurgence, but I think that we're seeing a few more of our younger people go into the trades. I think that they are finally looking around and surveying the landscape of what they want to do with the rest of their lives and saying, this isn't so bad. There are different ways to make a living. And I'll tell you, I probably missed my calling. If I had to go over and do it all over again, I'd still stay in the construction trade, but I might be an electrician, because I'd probably been a lot cleaner at the end of the day, a lot of days, than versus roofing. But, it's just a different trade.
Well, I don't know whether it's as dangerous, and I mean, it might be more dangerous than you can fall off a roof, but you can, if you don't know electricity, you can get electrocuted real quick.
That's right. You don't burn anybody's house down.
Yeah, right. Well, if you're ready, I'm ready, MJ's ready. We'll take a break right here. This is Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank our friends at Bates Ford and the low price tire guarantee on all tires every day. Up to 30 days after the sale, there'll be any competitor's pricing on the tires they sell. 1780 Franklin Road. Now with traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. It still remains heavy over here coming through Hermitage on 40 westbound. As you come past Central Pike, a lot of traffic making its way in this area here in Hermitage from Wilson County. It's still loaded up pretty good with some volume on Vietnam Vets westbound through Hendersonville, working your way towards Conference Drive. Still moving 65 north up through Franklin and Brentwood right now. 24/7 reliable crane and rigging services right here in Middle Tennessee. Tomahawk Crane and Rigging. Check them out at tomahawkcrane.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
The cozy warmth after coming in from a chilly, pink-cheeked morning walk. The perfect man cave temperature to kick back and watch the big game. When the weather turns cold, a new Rheem heating system will surround your family in total comfort. Are you feeling it? Rheem, the new degree of comfort.
Feel year-round comfort with a new HVAC system installed by the pros at Randy's Heat and Air. We're the local team you can trust. Call Randy's Heat and Air today at 615-237-3604.
Are you facing a challenging time that you need help navigating? Well, look no further than your local law firm of Kane & Crowell. At the offices of Kane & Crowell, we understand the complexities that come with family law matters. Whether you're going through a divorce, working through child custody or support matters, or needing a will or trust drafted to protect your family assets for future generations. Kane & Crowell, 615-784-4800. Your local leaders in family law matters.
What is your passion? How can you use that passion to enrich your community? Hi, this is Melanie Minter, President and CEO of the Lebanon-Wilson County Chamber of Commerce. Your chamber is the resource for making connections to fulfill your passion. Whether education, nonprofit, agriculture, entertainment, or government relations, Wilson County offers a place for you to be involved. Your chamber connects businesses, individuals, and your passion to the community. We have an enthusiasm for excellence. Join us and catch the spirit. Call or visit our office at 149 Public Square in Lebanon.
We continue here on this Thursday morning. Boy, it's a beautiful day. It's May the 2nd, and Tim Leeper is here. We're talking Tim Leeper Roofing and other things. One of the things I do enjoy about getting to have you here, we talk a lot of roofing, but we talk a lot of other things. And you have your life story, your experiences to share with us, which, I mean, from as you said earlier, you didn't like school. You had difficulty with the books. You work with your hands. You can do other things. You sort of had to find your niche, and I appreciate stories like that. And somebody telling their life experience, and especially when you started a business, you've been successful, and you have, and I think you're worth listening to. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I hope so. I hope I'm not rambling. You know, it's you'd said that. You know, it's funny. My grandfather was worked for the IRS, but he also had a fence business too. So he was both. He was blue collar and white collar at the same time. And I don't know how good he was at the IRS because he was in charge of when there were audits. But he was one of those that would go in and help people and try to give them all the tips that they could to try to make it easier on them, you know. And I said, well, that may be why that you didn't ever move up anywhere. You stayed in audits. Maybe you go in audits to see how good you do and go somewhere else. But they kept him there most of the whole time, from what I understand.
Well, that is not what we typically think of somebody that's working for the government.
No.
We don't think you're from the government and you're here to help me.
No.
As a general rule, and especially the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a good story in itself. And he did that most of his life, his adult life?
He did that most of his adult life. But like I say, they were farmers, you know, when they started. and then he was always had aptitude for computers, and so when they first came out, he was one of the first people I ever knew that had a computer, and but yeah, he worked for the IRS, and he had a fencing business, and they baled hay, and for their stuff, and also sold it to the areas around them, because they couldn't take all that they had, and they had different fields that they would take care of, and they would get some hay off of it and give some to their farmers. But they always had a pretty good deal worked out. They never went without.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we've ever talked about this. It just occurred to me as you were saying that, as far as government and government regulations, as far as roofing goes, is there a lot of times, honestly, I hate to say this, have to say it, I think a lot of times we have government regulations because people tend to abuse whatever trade they have, maybe take advantage of people, stories get out, it gets into Congress, and then we have congressional acts to control different things. How much control does the government have, let's say, in the roofing business?
Well, not a lot. We're kind of free to do the things that we need. There are things that you have to get permits on, and there's reasons for getting those permits, because people build all kind of crazy stuff if you don't just kind of watch it and regulate it to a degree. So that's important. It's something that's needed. And another thing is safety.
Uh-huh.
You have OSHA, and they're over fall protection and things like that. And roofing is one of the most dangerous construction trades there is as far as fall-related accidents and deaths. And a lot of those things are preventable. And a lot of those falls, can happen on a flat roof just like they can something else. I was working on a local commercial building here. We won't say where it was, but it was several years ago, and had a contractor that he was licensed, insured, and bonded, and we were working together on this job. And he fell down and almost severed his spinal cord, and it was on a flat roof. It was not on a shingle roof. It was a ladder safety issue. And so, the OSHA or TOSHA, Tennessee OSHA, that we deal with, those are needed entities, and I don't feel like that they overdo it, or they're not out hunting for contractors, but if you're doing something foolish, and if they have a reason to be looking for contractors, those entities are reasonable, and they don't force it and encroach into your space.
Mm-hmm. Is anything that they require that's really hard to do or really expensive? I mean, or maybe something on a particular job you'd shy away from because of certain regulations?
No, there's fall protection on buildings, and it's you do have to have a safety monitor on some projects, and you have to have fall protection. It has to be 6 foot back from the edge of the roof, and you've got to have your flags and your different safety equipment up there. And there has to be a safety monitor, and that's his only job or her only job is to watch that safety line and see if somebody's getting close, and if they see it, they just call it out and say, hey, you can't be that close, you've got to have both arms back in over here, you've got to be tied off, you've got to be this. And so that's what the purpose of a safety monitor. It's an expense, that a lot of people won't think to put in the job, but you have to have it. And so if they see you, if OSHA sees you and you don't have a safety monitor, it's a violation.
How severe a penalty is it? I mean, I guess it's got to be enough that you don't take a chance on not having it and take a chance on not getting caught.
Well, whatever the penalty is, it's always more than you think, and but I think they do that because those penalties are negotiable. They may give you a $7,000 fine, but if you make corrections and you show documentation, you've given classes or you teach safety classes or you bring an outside person from your insurance company, they'll lessen the fine. So they're not unreasonable most of the time. And what we find where I feel like it's most helpful is when these people and these contractors are doing things that are completely unsafe and they have a fall-related death, then they're going to really go after them. And if they see there's a record for them to not be in compliance, over and over again, then they're going to make an example out of them, as they should. And, so we don't need that. We got enough reason to have a bad reputation with all the other things that go on in the construction industry. We don't need to be unsafe on top of it.
Yeah, right. Well, are you pretty busy right now?
I could use to be busier, but we're glad with what we have. This is the slowest start that I've seen in a long time. Probably since 2011. I was telling somebody the other day. Now the commercial is up in Tim Leap Roofing, and that is making our budget, and that's not normal for a commercial to make our budget in the first part of the year. But residential is extremely slow.
What do you attribute that to?
Well, we've had a lot of storms over the last few years. Starting in 2020, we had three things in 2020. We had the tornado, we had the straight line winds, and we had COVID. And those three things kept us really busy. And we had similar situation with COVID in 21. It was still going on, and essential workers were working, and construction was one of those. And then we also had 22. There was another storm that took a fair amount of roofs off the market. And so you've had those, and after so many roofs come off the market, there's what I refer to as a storm hangover. You've got so many roofs that naturally would be life cycling out, and they've been prematurely taken off the market. So now, there's just a shortage of it. And so you'll see contractors sometimes go further out than what they would, or they'll go chase a storm somewhere else just to make the budget for the year. We don't do that because we just have to figure out how to make it or cut our budget. But we're not going to go looking for storm-related work.
Well, what's happening in your life, we would... What's the word I'm looking for here? Anyway, but you're involved in community work. You do different things. Anything of that nature you want to talk about this morning?
Well, we've got
extracurricular.
That's right. We've got a couple of things coming up, and one of them is I have moved to the morning Rotary Club.
Mm-hmm.
Just worked better for my schedule. In the morning Rotary Club, we have a fish fry every year, and it's sometime in the fall. I'd be remiss.
I think it's in October.
Yeah, usually it is in October, and so I don't know if I'll get the date the next time I come back to be sure, because we're approaching it. I know it's May, but October will be here before you know it. And there's also so we have that coming up for Rotary, and then our Sisters Keeper has their second annual Boots and Shoot that will be up, and that was an absolute smash last year. This year we're going to be doing it a little different. This year we're going to be doing a pro-am. Instead of a 5-man team, we'll still be doing a 5-man team, but one of those teams, each team will have a pro on it. So you'll have a pro shooter that's kind of a built-in safety monitor, if you will, and we'll probably expand to 3 different flights, 12 teams per flight. So, we've pretty much got 2 flights full already, and we're just, we're working on the last one. We're really not working hard on it, but, because it's not time. But here in the next month or so, we'll start, planning and preparing everything out.
Well, that's something that we hadn't heard much about until you started doing this, and heard a little bit more about it. But this is to help people, I think, women who've been incarcerated. Is that the idea? Help them get back on their feet when they serve their time?
Well, that's the gist of it. And basically, if you think of it like this, when you're incarcerated, you're cut off from access to the outside world. And so, if your license has expired, if your insurance has lapsed, if your vehicle has been repossessed, if you've got to figure out how to, find employment, it's helpful to have somebody to help you navigate those things, because, if you've ever been to the DMV, you know how frustrating that can be, in general. And now take take into effect that, when you're just getting out, you've got probationary requirements and you've got other requirements that you've got classes maybe you have to take, then you still have to find employment. It's more difficult, honestly, than people realize. And until you're in that position, and people can say all day, well, they put themselves in that position, so they should figure out, how to get out of it. Well, that's easier said than done. And when you get people in a position like that and you make it so difficult and so hard, sometimes it's hard for them to walk out the other side. And it's easier for them to say, well, forget it, I can't win anyway, and so I'm just going to sit here in my pig pen and just deal with this because this is what I know. So I love that we have people in our community that are doing that and investing into people that, that really need it, that people will never be able to repay them back a lot of times.
Yeah. Okay, we've come to about our last minute here. Tim Leeper's here if you joined us late. Tim Leeper Roofing, and you can reach him if you call 615-372-4713, 4713. That's his cell phone. 372-4713. You still have your office phone at 553-2782.
Yes, sir.
So either one of those, you'll get Tim, and he will give you his best advice. And I will say that sometimes you tell people if you'll do this and this and this, the roof will probably last another 3 or 4 years. So I think we can say you try to be honest in your evaluation and what you're telling people.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for being with us today. That is going to do it for our Thursday. We'll have another special program for you tomorrow, and we hope you'll join us then for the Friday edition. And until tomorrow, I wish you a tremendous day.